'Tis I, Sprog Pendlebury. I'm doing the intro this week because my dad can't be arsed. I'm also a ventriloquist in my spare time. Yes, that's funny. Unlike this intro. Well, if you'd like to go and get involved with my dad's racing league, well, come along, it's very exciting and bouncy and fun. All of the reasons are over there, and there's a Discord link below me as well. But for now, let's crack on with this week's highlights. Tasty bird. Hello then, and welcome to Fuji. We are in the LMP3s for round 13, and guess what, guys? It's the big one, the 90-minute endurance. There's a fair few of us that wish we could go 90 minutes in the real world. Tell you what, I wish I could. I might not have one Sprog and another on the way if I could. Anyway, that's too much information. Let's head over to the grid then. Will Thomas takes another pole. I can't remember how many that is for the season, but it's a few. Taking up the mantle of Dan Slattery, who is now starting in second place. We then have Lord Pendlebury and Jamie Nicholson on the second row of the grid, with Jeff Sharp and a beautifully faded grey to green colouring on his 19 there, and Ricky Worrell on the third row. That was smooth, wasn't it? Well, let's crack on with the fourth row. Chris Hulse and Chris Palmer make up the first of the AM category. Then we have Axel Edwards in 9th with Steve Everson in 10th, Josh Morris in 11th. Let's get down to track level and see how it's going. Waiting for Will Thomas to drop the hammer. He has done. Got Pendlebury behind him. Slattery. Was it well judged or was it blind luck? Who knows? Around that first corner they go. Slattery and Will Thomas already battling it out for the lead. Oh, Slattery's into the back of Will Thomas there. I think Pendlebury nudged when he was going round as well. There's cars all over the place here. This is not quite the calm start to the race that many were predicting. When I say many, literally nobody. Oh, we've got someone up the inside. Ricky Worrell's actually made an effort with his livery this week. I'm sure he hasn't. I'm sure he's made the effort of going on to trading paints, though, and finding one that he finds pleasing to the eye. Well, so I've got the first lap nearly in the book then. A bit of side-by-side action at the back, nearly. Slattery wouldn't want him to be on a recovery drive from the third corner. Who knows? He's practically pushing Steve Everson along there. Ducks out now. Is he going to go for a 2-on-1? I think he is. That's the number 95 of Axel Edwards. He goes up the inside of as well. Nicely done there. He's dropped down to 6th position from the starting position. Oh no, maybe it is. Never mind. Maths. Slattery is already just a lap later, close up behind Chris Hulse. Pulls out to the side. That's right, we've got Steve Everson doing similar in the background. Oh, both Axel and Everson locking up there. They sound like a shop of some sort there, don't they, Axel and Everson? Well, that was the moment then. We'll take a look at a replay of the start if that wasn't obvious. Will Thomas got a very good start there. Slattery went across to defend. We had Worrell and Sharp alongside each other, as well as Palmer and Hulse. Lots of side-by-side action through that first corner. You see our two leaders there, still side-by-side as they go up towards 130R-ish. Now they're going up towards 130R. Actually, I don't think that is 130R. Who knows? It's a long right-hander. And then, as Thomas just eases off a little bit, Slattery goes into the back of him, rear goes loose, he spins around. Fortunately, a tarmac runoff area for him, so he can get away with not losing too much time there. That allowed Jamie Nicholson, they all checked up a bit, that allowed Jamie Nicholson through into second place. You can already see a massive gap that Will Thomas has got there. The helicopter gets a bit juddery, then we get Palmer into the side of Worrell a little bit through there. It's a hateful section of track, this bit. Thoroughly hate it. Further back, we had this four-way battle, dropped off a little bit from the main pack. Slattery poking his nose up the inside of Everson. Undoubtedly a bit uncomfortable for Everson. Gets a good launch out of that last turn. And yeah, we all know what goes on at the first corner. He gets that double move done. Back to the live action then. And there is one Ricky Worrell. What's that down the side of his... can't quite read what's on the side of his car. It looks like it's just grease. Not as in like he's got a greasy car, like the country grease maybe. Who knows? But anyway, of the battles on track, this is the closest one. Jeff Sharp in 4th place. Ricky Worrell just 3.5 tenths back. Of course, there is a certain element of patience required in the endurance racing. Got to look after tyres, maybe fuel save a bit if you want to get that extra lap. So, whilst most weeks we might be playing checkers, this week we are playing chess. So what? Looks like we maybe have it. Slattery on for a move here. Indeed we do. There is Chris Palmer. Oh, locks up that front right. And Palmer, oh! I tell you what, he went into, or looked like he was going to go into Slattery then, like a cruise missile. He doesn't though, which is good news for both of them. But Slattery, having fallen back into last place, has sadly has done well. He's already up to 6th place. We're only 4 laps in. Also, a shout out to the one and only Josh Morris, maybe in solidarity with his fellow Josh. Not quite the venomous battle that we have between the two Chris's. Maybe there's a bit of solidarity there. Either way, this is a long way of saying that Josh Morris has already retired from this race. He didn't even start this race. 2nd successive power cut on a Friday night. How is that for shit luck? Well, here's what happened to Jeff Sharp. He thought, fuck that to the chicane, and go straight on. Briefly got up to the 3rd with that move, but obviously the slower way round gets a slowdown for his troubles as well. That promotes Ricky Worrell into 4th. And before that mistake from Mr. Sharp, there was this mistake from Jamie Nicholson. Runs wide through maybe 130R. Penderbury able to slide up the inside. And just goes to show, if you run a little wide, then you might lose your position. Well then, we are taking a look at the battle of the Chris's here. Palmer variety leading the way at the moment. Huss in pursuit. And it's a bit of a clumsy attempt at a move there. Not quite sure what happened. Looked like just fundamentally 2 different lines not quite going together, and I think Huss has run a little bit wide there behind. Indeed he has. Right, what's close on track? Dan Slattery still right up the chuff of Jeff Sharp. Oh, I'll tell you what, something has gone on here, because, or has it? I'm confused. why Dan Slattery has fallen back. He's splitting the Chris's. Let's go back and take a look and see what happened there. Or maybe we will in a second. Probably better for continuity if I let this battle play out. I suspect he's going to get a decent run out of this corner, and he might overtake Chris Palmer again into turn 1. If that is what happens, we'll have to call me Mystic Meg. Pulls to the inside. Hard onto the brakes they go. Oh, he locks that inside tyre again. Runs a little wide. Palmer. Is he going to get ahead before? He is. And now Chris Hulse dives to the inside of Slattery there. Oh, they just about squeezed through. Okay, this is a nice old battle between these three. We've got just behind Steve Everson, just 1.7 seconds back. We've also, by the looks of things, Axel Edwards 3 laps down, but he is showing us out of the car. He has retired early on in this one. We'll have to take a look and see what happened there as well. You start keeping a notepad or something for this. You need to go and see what happened to Slattery and what happened to Edwards. Two very different lines being used. As we go through this fiddly final sector. Oh, something just happened there. Indeed, something else has happened. Slattery's up the inside. He's taken him by surprise. There's smoke there, and you may well have noticed Jamie Nicholson has dropped down a couple of positions. He's not the person to be on board with, really. If we take a look on board with Chris Hulse, though, is he going to send it 3 wide? He's got to. It's an endurance race. We're only 13 minutes in. If you don't win it in the first corner, you don't win it at all. Oh, Palmer gets a little bit squirrely out of that corner. Slattery makes the move stick. Who's going to concede? Hulse. Oh, I tell you what, that was a nasty bounce over the curbs. That's going to bring Everson into play. You know what? Everson swings it back across to the right nicely. He'll have better momentum as they come out of this corner. And he is right behind him. Can't quite get through. Oh, that's Hulse running wide. Everson playing the positioning game here. Bloody hell, he's got a dirty front end. It's only quarter of an hour into the 90 minutes. How on earth's the front of his car looking that mucky? Well, here is Edwards. We found the replay and just runs wide in that tricky last section. Doesn't make it into the barriers, but at this point decides, fuck that. Well, this is what happened to Slattery. Through the fast left-hander, then gets a bit too much on the curbs in maybe 130R. Recovers it fairly well, but you can hear the roaring engines of Hulse and Palmer. Sounds like another business, doesn't it, Hulse and Palmer? Maybe cigarette brand. Or biscuits. Don't know, you decide. And here is Jamie Nicholson. And let's see what happened. Coming around to the last corner. Oh, just a little bit too much speed. Or should I say a little bit too much speed. Worrell only just avoids him, as does Sharp, but both of them managed to get through. That is going to be a tasty battle, though. And then in the background you can see the battle we've already covered between Palmer, Slattery and Hulse. So what we haven't seen, though, is does Nicholson go for that move on Sharp into turn 1? Indeed he does. Gets on the brakes early, though. Maybe just trying to make Sharp think about it rather than genuinely going for the move. And yes, I think we are appraised of everything that's been going on then. Let's get back to the live action so I can miss some more stuff. Well, here is the battle between Hulse, Everson and Palmer, a newly formed legal clinic. And Chris Hulse hunting down Chris Palmer again. Oh, Palmer thought about going defensive there, maybe thought it was a bit too late. Oh, lock up, as so many people are locking up into that first corner. And I'll tell you what, Chris Palmer has got that switchback absolutely nailed. He's done it to Slattery, he's done it to Hulse, lures them into that inside line, they lock up, go wide, and up the inside he goes. It's not over yet though. Is Hulse going to look to the inside here? Indeed he does. That was a nice little send. Side by side, out of the exit they go. Maybe this is 130R. Maybe I should get up a track map with the names. That would be beneficial. He's now, even though Palmer was defensive, thrown it up the inside, and now Palmer's the one that locks up. And Everson, why must you? Stupid camera system. The upshot is, Palmer has lost 2 positions there. Everson able to make the most out of that, but iRacing's race director is so colossally stupid that he thought that we might want to see an on-board shot there, not being able to see any of the action. So now I'm going to have to create another bloody replay. Let's go and have a look at that. Looking down from the blimp then, despite Palmer's defensive line, Hulse sends it up the inside, gets it stopped and round nicely. Palmer goes out wide having locked up, and then Everson sticks it around the outside of the middle part of that chicane, which means he then has the inside line as we come round here. Palmer going for one of his almost infamous switchbacks there, but not quite the place to do it. But yeah, that's how that all shook out. Right then, back to the battle between Worrell, Sharp and Nicholson. Nicholson maybe just finding his time a little bit there, watching to see how it plays out between these two. Looks like Sharp has some superior grip through the chicane section there, keeping it very tight on Worrell. It's almost post-traumatic stress watching this back. That last sector I should say. Oh, Worrell's out wide, gets squirrely. Sharp didn't know which way he was going. But I'll tell you where Sharp's going, and that's straight into the podium positions. 3rd place for him after that mistake from Worrell. Worrell looking to earn that position straight back though. Fucking God, I'm going to kill this fucking race director. And up the inside he does skull. I'm not sure what's going on there, but Sharp's found some grip on that outside line. Hangs it round the outside. Oh, well, thought about turning in. We'll start calling him Sergio Perez if he does do anything like that. And I tell you what, Jamie Nicholson looking up the inside as well there. Comes the outside though as we come around here. Is he going to go for a switchback or is he going to hang it round the outside? He looks to hang it round the outside. Oh, and that's a spin. Manages to hold off. There's some questionable physics there, but manages to hold off a full spin. However, he has dropped back and he's going to be the better part of 4 seconds off the back of that battle now with that spin. Well, crossing live to the pit lane as a lot of them have started their pits. That's Penderbury coming out, maintains 2nd place. There's Jeff Sharp with Ricky Worrell following him out. Jamie Nicholson not too far behind either. Let's bring up some pit information then. If you cast your eyes to the top right hand corner of the screen. Christ, now I need to try and interpret this. Well, as you can see, the vast majority of them have pitted on lap 21. That would have meant some fuel saving that was going on for all of them there. Chris Hulse pitted on lap 20. Chris Palmer 3 laps earlier on lap 17. That may not benefit him as we go further into the race. You can see there the pit stop times and the pit lane times and things fastest out of everyone in the pit lane. Chris Palmer, 57.5 seconds. Pretty impressive stuff there. Pendlebury and Ricky Worrell, the more sluggish there with 1 minute and 1 minute point 5. How much can I drag this out? So I think I'm going to stop there. Also, just in case you hadn't spotted it, that is Dan Slattery. He has joined the list of retirees. He went into the pit pit lane, never came out. So, yeah, nobody's seen him since. Well, good news for everybody except Will Thomas. Speeding in the pit lane is the information out of race control. He has got a stop-go penalty, or maybe a drive-through penalty. I'm not too sure, but either way, you're going to see Pendlebury flashing across to take the lead any moment now. There he is, and indeed it is a stop-go penalty for Will Thomas for speeding in the pit lane. That is incredibly harsh. He was 13 seconds out in front. Almost, I mean, we've still got 50 minutes of this race to go. That took me slightly longer than it should have done to work out, but 50 minutes of the race to go. But we're now looking at our new race leader, Lord Pendlebury. He's done it before though, had that spin back at Road Atlanta in the GT4s did Will Thomas, and he came back through to win that race, and 50 minutes is no small amount of time. Let's see what he can do. Question is, when's he going to be out of the pit lane? Well, he is out of the pit lane. How far back is he from everybody else? Well, he is 30 seconds off the lead as it stands. You can see that from the gap at the top of our screens there. Well, closest battle out on track then. Chris Hulse has slowly been closing that gap to Steve Everson. It's now 3.5 tenths, the gap between the two of them. So what we do need to do is start looking at the bottom left hand corner for the helmet of the week competition. Oh, well, he's heard the helmet of the week competition is live this week and tries to make a shout for it there, Everson. Locks up into the chicane, is a little bit wide through that section there. He does seem to have gained a bit of time though on Chris Hulse. But Chris Hulse gets a better run out of that corner. Let's take a look at Chris's helmet. See if that's anything to shout about. Not a bad one. Currently lapping about a second off of his best time so far. Let's take a look at his new time. Well, that is about 2.2 seconds slower than his best, but he was undoubtedly slowed a bit by Everson's shit that was going on. Christ, I can't find the words these days. And it looks like, not Everson, Hulse was slightly conservative going into turn 1 there. Looked like forever like he had the space to get the job done. But you can indeed start calling me Mystic Meg, because it is raged on. Everson deciding not to go defensive despite being defensive down the straight. Hulse locks up there, nearly goes into the side of Everson. Does he? No, not quite. It is tricky to get these cars stopped. It is on knife edge, incredibly easy to lock them up. I think that's why we're seeing so many puffs of smoke. Now, what's he going to do? Oh, Everson's wide again. Hulse looking the inside. Licking the inside, was that? Not sure what he'd do that for. He's slightly wider through that last turn, but it should give him a bit more of a slingshot out of that final turn, and Everson was messy. And with that extra momentum, Hulse may have this done before they get to turn 1. Not quite. Everson clinging on to that inside line. Puff of smoke from Everson. Hulse looks to go all the way around the outside. Still side by side, are they? Indeed they are. This has been a cracking battle from these two. Hulse concedes the position, just cannot make the move stick on Everson. Oh, another lock up from Everson there. So there's been a fair few occasions where it's looked like, oh hello, or thought he was going to go for the move there. I'll tell you what though, it might have distracted Everson because he has had to go left of those savage sausage curbs, and those savage sausages have cost him. I imagine he's probably got a slowdown for that as well, but after a hard fought battle, it was a cracking battle between the two of them. Everson, no, Hulse has made it past Everson. Got a second gap to play with. Let's take a look at the leaders then. That is Lord Pendlebury. Let's take a look at his helmet, see what he's packing. Oh, quite a dark affair that, with a flash of colour across the visor. Maybe a bit of her helmet because he's clearly spent too much time designing that. But currently 3.5 seconds ahead of Sharp. Contrast in strategies then. We've heard from Ted down in the pits. Pendlebury has gone for just swapping over the front tyres to new tyres, whereas Sharp and Worrell have gone for new tyres all round, I believe. And currently Pendlebury is not doing too badly with maintaining that gap, but you do feel this is going to get to a point before the next pit stop that he may start falling into the clutches of Jeff Sharp. Speaking of, let's take a look at what his helmet situation's like. Ooh, Flame Boy! Does match the car though. Going nicely there, just keeping that pressure on Pendlebury, just 3 seconds back, just over. There, waiting to pounce on any mistakes. Well, the last round of pit stops is underway, and if we open up the fantastic graphic that was not at all confusing, the pit lap up on the top left, and you can see there that Pendlebury pitted on lap 39 earlier than Sharp and Worrell. And if we take a look, there is Pendlebury, but more importantly, there is Jeff Sharp exiting the pits. He has jumped him in the pits. Rumour has it Pendlebury was struggling on his tyres and, as ever, can't seem to master a pit stop to save his fucking life. He was about 1.2 seconds ahead of Sharp going into the pits. He's now 5.6 seconds back, so yeah, useless. No other movers at this point, though it doesn't look. We've got Steve Everson on the pit exit, but he was behind Chris Hulse, and Chris Palmer is a fair way cruelly the timing tower there, pointing out that he's 1.9 kilometres back. Ricky Worrell, though, he is in the pit lane, and he's still in the pit lane. Let's go and have a look and see what's happened. So here is the replay then. Worrell just come out the pits after his pit stop, gets a bit squirrely twice, and then finally gives up. Oh, and that is big impact. If we ran safety cars, that would certainly be one. And well, there, that's the tow back to the pits. That is the mess. I mean, not really a car anymore, that just looks like a box. Well, we'll join our leader through the final sector on the final lap. You can see from the track map there that everyone's quite spread out. Only the 7 runners left. But Jeff Sharp has played a very good race here today. Went for the full tyre swap on that first stop, and that is ultimately what has rewarded him with the win. Pendlebury went the opposite way on the strategy. Wasn't as good, could never really get those tyres up to speed quickly enough. The gap has gone down. It went up to 8 seconds just over between the two of them. Pendlebury's got it down to 5.5 by the end of the race, but there it is, the win for Jeff Sharp. Double points for him. So 50 points will go into his account because he doesn't get any of the bonus points. But very well played indeed from Jeff Sharp. Let's now take a look at the final results. And in the AM category then, Chris Hulse, he was in first place with Steve Everson in second, Chris Palmer was in third with Axel Edwards in fourth, and Josh Morris in fifth. We then take a look at the Pro category. Jeff Sharp takes that victory, very nicely done from him. Lord Pendlebury in second with Jamie Nicholson in third. Will Thomas was in fourth with Ricky Worrell in fifth and Dan Slattery in sixth. Worrell and Slattery both there with early retirements. And the overall final race classification then, Jeff Sharp in first place with Lord Pendlebury in second and Jamie Nicholson in third. Will Thomas in fourth. We then have a smattering of AM category. Chris Hulse in fifth, Steve Everson in sixth and Chris Palmer in seventh. Ricky Worrell was then 13 laps down from the end. He still takes 8th and 4 points though. Dan Slattery 42 laps down. Axel Edwards in 10th with 51 laps down. And Josh Morris in 11th with didn't start the race unfortunately. Hopefully he won't have a power cut tonight. That doesn't make sense to you. To give context, I am recording this about 2 hours and 20 minutes before things start kicking off tonight. So yes. Anyway, let's go and take a look at the points after that. So then, let's start with the overall standings. Jeff Sharp, a new leader in the championship. He's broken into the 200s on 201 points. Will Thomas lost the championship lead after this one. He's 5 points back on 196 points. We then have Lord Pendlebury in third place on 186. It's then Ricky Worrell. He is a full 29 points back, if my math is right. Indeed it is, 29 points back in fourth. We then have Steve Everson on 132 points with Dan Slattery on 122 points. Jamie Nicholson is in 7th on 112 with Chris Hulse just 3 points back in 8th. Chris Palmer, then a bit more of a gap back to him. He is in 9th place with Josh Morris rounding out the top 10. He is sharing that spot though with Anthony Marriott as they share that 10th place. We then have Brian Dodd in 12th on 27 with Josh Levy on 20 points in 13th. Paul Nicholson is in 14th. Nelson Verdier in 15th. Axel Edwards in 16th. And finally Martin Rigby in 17th. Now let's take a look because I have finally worked out how to do this. Let's take a look at the other standings. So firstly, the Pro category. We have Will Thomas still leading the way in first. He's on 226 points with Jeff Sharp in second on 212. Lord Pendlebury just 1 point back on 211. It's then Ricky Worrell in fourth place with Dan Slattery in fifth. Jamie Nicholson is then in sixth on 135, and then the two fleeting participants in the league so far this season, Nelson Verdier in seventh and Martin Rigby in eighth. Now I'll take a look at the AM standings. Chris Hulse then a commanding 66 point lead there over Steve Everson in second. Chris Palmer then 40 points back on 160 points. We then have Josh Morris in fourth place on 151, then Josh Levy in fifth on 111. Brian Dodd is on 102 points with Anthony Marriott on 86, Paul Nicholson in 8th on 76, and then Axel Edwards in 9th on 40 points. Well, thank you very much for watching. If you have got this far, then yeah, well done. Well done you. It's off to the touring cars at Donington Park next week, so that's likely to be a bit chaotic, so we will see you then.